Okay. So let's find a comfortable position in your chair. Just move it as close as you can to the posture that we look for in Tai Chi without actually straining yourself. So try and have your feet flat down on the floor and about a third of your weight in your feet, so a slight tilt forwards. If you find that your back is beginning to ache when you do that, then of course you must sit back. And just give yourself a few moments to sort of reflect on this posture and how your body is supported. Chair, of course, is supporting, but also if you are forwards in your feet like this, you get a degree of support from your feet and your legs. And especially with that slight tilt forwards, you can maybe feel that the front of your body, so belly, solar plexus, chest and ribs, are supported by your back, and so you can just start to release some of the tightness and stiffness there. And as that happens, particularly in the upper part of your body, you realize that there remains a support within the body. When you lose some of that tightness and you lose some of that stiffness, you still have a shape, you're still supporting, and that of course comes from the air of your skeleton initially. And then rubbing your hands together and tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Down one shoulder, your arm. And side. Up, up. Belly. And change the position, put your feet forwards so that you just naturally fall back in the chair. I think this too shows you the significance of your feet, even when you're in a chair. Before we were like this, and if you ever sat in a chair and you sort of tucked your feet underneath, you start to fall forwards. And if you do what I've just suggested, put your feet out there, you tend to slip back. So even though we're not standing, it's still very significant where our feet are and how that affects the alignment of our body, the shape of our body, and so on and so forth. And then just giving yourself a chance to settle down into the chair to get this feeling of the weight dropping more into the chair. You can have an idea of where there might be tension, stiffness, resistance in your body to that process. Think of a cat when it really kind of like melts into the chair. That's sort of the feeling that you're wanting to get. And once again, that can help to make you more aware of both the chair, you feel perhaps a bit heavier in the chair, but also the fact that you have a shape, you have a support mechanism within your body. And this is rooting down, and we use this position to start that process, just to identify how it can feel, but then coming back up to the upright position, trying once again to find a good posture, and one that allows for that movement downwards, to allow the pull of gravity to pull you down. And noticing, and this will be most obvious, I think, in feet and the lower part of your legs, maybe hips, buttocks, lower back, that as you sink down, there's also a sense of almost being pushed up. Imagine if you were in water and you sort of drop down into water a little bit, and then the water kind of lifts you up a little bit. Sometimes you can find the right kind of balance between the downward and the upward movement, and you get held there. And this is something that we would like to try and find in our various postures in Tai Chi. Before we start to move, but once you start to move, then that balance will shift. But here is the possibility of being held between the downward movement and the upward movement, between forwards and backwards, between left and right. Giving us a quality of posture that it's labeled in various ways. I like the label central equilibrium. Chinese term is Zhongding. One that is less tight, less stiff in the body. A posture that you're able to maintain without having to put massive amounts of effort into it. That is self-supporting. It has a certain amount of spaciousness for movement. You may notice a change, for instance, in breathing. And you could argue that everything that we do from now on is actually looking at ways that we can maintain central equilibrium, these qualities in different movements and in different postures. So to start off with, just turning your head from side to side a little bit. So once we've started to identify that there's a certain amount of space within the body, then the intention becomes to let the movements that we make fill up that space, but not to strain against boundaries of space. So you turn your head, you start to become aware of a little bit of resistance, and you stop. You don't push further. Hands in front of your shoulders. The same thing, holding your elbows back. Try not to stiffen up in those big muscles of your upper back and shoulders. And if you can avoid that, you may begin to notice that actually there's quite a lot of movement going on here in your sides, in your upper back, in your chest. Movement that if you were to stiffen up, would probably be less obvious. It's like the tightness, the stiffness lays across the muscles. But we begin to get a sense for more than one part of the body involved in it. And then going across. So at the moment, we're just really concerned with the joints of the upper body. Shoulders, and then bringing the hands down, hang down a little bit, just rotating them. So again, shoulders, elbows, wrists. But again, feeling as you make this movement, maybe a little bit of a resonance, shall we call it, in the chest, your upper back. And then come back. Lessen your hands and just tilt your pelvis forward. So now more of your weight goes into your feet. And then that same sense that I mentioned before, that sense of being pushed up, and then up from the feet. Your shoulders and your head get pushed back. And at the same time, as you go forwards, imagine your hips dropping backwards in the chair. So that helps to pull you up. The key point here, one of the key points here, being that you don't want to stiffen up, you don't want to strain in your upper body. Bring yourself upright. Your legs and your hips will take care of that. And then we realize when we've got this rotational movement, this vertical rotation, the pelvis, the center of the body, it touches all parts of the body, upwards into your spine, your back, shoulders, your head, and so on, going forwards. And the movement of your weight from predominantly in your hips and buttocks to more of your weight being in your feet. I mentioned earlier the support from within, from the skeleton. But now as you start to move, just focusing your attention on your spine and maybe your ribs, You realise that in a way that's a two-way process, that your spine certainly supports your back. It's a key part, obviously, of the structure of the back. Gives you the support and length, so on and so forth, as does your rib cage. Rib cage creates the thoracic cavity, the chest cavity. And yet at the same time, the soft tissue of your upper body, muscles, tendons, ligaments, fascia, also help to support the spine and your ribs. So this is a two-way process. You need both. If you were to somehow, if your spine were to disappear, you would just collapse. But if there was no support for the spine in that position, equally you would just collapse. So when we move in the center part of the body, potentially we touch all parts. Now turn towards one knee, and you'll find that more of your weight goes into one leg. Just aware of the dynamic move of your leg. You sink down into the leg, you feel the leg compressed, and then it pushes you back. You sink back down into your hips, the compression there, and then it pushes you back. So this dynamic quality of the pull of gravity downwards, your body's response upwards, is being converted through the center to a horizontal. Turning and then bending on the other side. So this exercise points us at a constant process in Tai Chi. And this dynamic quality, this kinetic energy that comes initially from the pull of gravity downwards and then the upward movement, is one of the key energies that we will work with in Tai Chi. Not the only one, but one of the key. And it's focused, shaped, directed through the center. So turning in that area of your hips, pelvis, and waist, drawing your head and shoulders around the inner circle, nice and smooth. And so that center part of your body, from there down into the ground, becomes perhaps the primary focus, the foundation for the physical movement, and the foundation for the mind, our awareness and our intentions, and everything sort of expanding out of that. Change direction. One more time. And then stepping out one foot, plant the foot. By planting the foot, you do is you put the heel down, lower the toes, and gently push the foot in. And then on the other side, remembering that when you move your feet, it's going to have an effect on the whole body. So no movement is ever going to be isolated. Coming back to this basic position. So with a strong sense of focus in the center of your body, down into the ground, and recognize that that's a useful thing for your attention, for your mind, because it comes to represent a kind of haven for the mind, a place where our thoughts can settle, where we can begin to cultivate not just the physical movements and the energetic qualities, but also that sense of calmness and stillness that's such a feature. Hands to your sides, slightly out, turn the hands forwards. So then, moving your weight forwards, drop into your feet and rotating your arms at the same time. Bird folds its wings. So we're learning to move from the ground. We're learning to move to our center. And there's a deliberate shift of our attention and our intention away from the upper body and arms. Not because we want to ignore them, but because, simply speaking, they tend to dominate our attention. And we're just trying to rebalance that a little bit by paying a bit more attention to the lower part. And in a very real sense, the movement, the energy from the ground as a result of this willingness to allow gravity to work through. And then bring the hands face backwards, your arms just swinging, fisherman casting out. So I'm describing all these things separately, but really they blend and mix. We want a posture that allows gravity to work through our body, draws our center of gravity down in the way that I've been describing, but it's also true that our center of gravity dropping helps to create that posture because there's less tightness, there's less stiffness in the upper part. We let the downward movement of gravity produce the upward movement. We get that sense of reciprocal energy working through the body. Then we use that center part of the body to create a pattern, to create shapes. This time, leaving your arms out in front, and as you sit back, letting them come over, elbows dropping down. So this one from the sides and go forwards. See where my arms are now, and it's my feet pushing back, my hips dropping back. But my elbows drop, don't roll in the ball. Feeling the expansion coming up, the belly, chest. If we don't put too much effort into lifting our arms, if we don't think about lifting our arms, but rather pulling them, we're less likely to strain. And we're going to get a sense of that energy, that movement expanding up from the feet. And that will help to move the arms. So once again, these things work together. They're not necessarily linear processes. The body, mind, energy, really working as one unit. Our intention begins to produce small changes in the body, the movement of the energy, an awareness of posture, awareness of movement helps to quieten our attention so that we can bring that intention to bear. And then this time, turning your hands palming, drawing your elbows apart, feeling that opening through the belly and chest. This is pigeon splinters. So we have these three aspects of the body: our physical posture, the mechanics of the movement, of our mind, and all that involves. Excuse me. Just noting that when we use the term mind in relation to arts like Tai Chi, often when we look in the old writings, there's an overlap between what we might think of as heart. So mind isn't just our thoughts, it's our intentions, our memories, our feelings, our emotions. And then the movement itself, the flow, the momentum, the energy. These are the three jewels, the three treasures of Tai Chi. And I think a good way of thinking of these is to think of them as being like the three legs of a tripod. Each supports the other and is supported by the other two. And then this time, changing, bringing your hands down, but leaving them in front of your hips, elbows going out, and we make pushing away. So we might choose to focus on one particular aspect. Say you've got a sort of tight spot in your back. It's always worth considering posture. Have you got a posture that maximizes the chance of that area releasing? We might want to think about how we're moving. Are we stiffening up there habitually and stiffening up somewhere else that causes that tightness? We might bring our intention to bear to sort of encourage one way or another that sense of the flowing movement in that area. Just an image, just have the idea that you want that flow in that area. One more time. And now just let your hands drop down and roll the hand fingers into a loose space, coming back, turning the hands, that's the forwards. You may find, and especially those of you familiar with these movements, that certain exercises, you might have that stiffness in your back. I know I'll do such and such exercise. Use an image. I like the image of water flowing over a rock in a riverbed. So sometimes that imagery can encourage that feeling of releasing you. So we might choose to focus on one or other aspect of these three jewels, these three treasures, as appropriate. But ultimately, we don't want to see them as separate. You want more of those? Punch with both fists. And then open your fingers, winding out. One more time. And then turn your hands palm down. Turn, roll the hips forwards, extension in your back, go into your arms, swing across and back. It's called polishing intent. Turn in. And you want to try and feel that your hips are really involved in this movement. I'm going to stand up and show you the standing version so you can see more easily. Here, I'll exaggerate. I push my hips back, I swing them across. I let them drop down, and that brings my head up, and then turn. And I go in the other direction. Same thing, coming back to the same time. And so, although there won't be as dramatic a movement in the chair, obviously your hips aren't sliding around, there's still this sense they're dropping back. There's a movement there. It feels as though they're coming across a little bit. You drop back again, bring you to the upright position. And then here, again, feeling that gentle lengthening through spine and back. As though you had two people, one of whom, each of whom had hold of one end of your spine. Just as you go forward, so gently pulling the spine out a little bit, and then begin to spring back to its original length. A nice sort of pulsing, almost massaging quality of movement in the back and spine. One more time. Arms rest for a moment, and instead of alternating the movement of your weight between your hips and your feet and your hips and your feet, which is what we've been doing so far, gathering that vertical energy, like in the downward movement of gravity, and springiness and resilience of your body, pushing upwards, and converting it into the horizontal. Now we want to take that movement and essentially press down gently through your feet and your hips at the same time, so that you again feel that lengthening in the spine, but very much vertically this time. So if I exaggerate it again, you see, push down, see how my head comes up. This is tightening my back, so I'm going too far. So this is more something that is felt internally than something that is seen externally. If you bring the hands around as though you're cradling the ball, you feel that expansion up through your body, turn your hands over and press it. So this is rooting down. Called rooting down because it's very dependent on that downward movement, connection to the ground. I've just described it in one particular way as a press down through your feet and your hips. But an alternative view, complementary to that one, would be, imagine here in your belly, you've got a ball with a balloon. And what happens is, in the downward movement, it's almost like the weight of your head compresses that ball, compresses the balloon, like this. And then what will happen is the balloon will expand and it will push downwards through your feet and your hips with that connection to the ground and upwards. That's a slightly more subtle, internalized view of them. I say that they're complementary. So again, choose the one that's most appropriate for you to focus on. And recognize the significance of that contact with the ground through your feet and legs, through your hips and the chin. Now this time, turning your hands out so your fingers are pointing away from your body. And this is the movement the world does. This is a good example of some of the very strong evocative images that we use. And if it's a good image for you, how your body might respond to those images. The image of the bird in flight, graceful, strong, maybe sometimes a feeling of calmness and stillness can be associated. And again, noticing how body and mind respond to these images. And then easing forwards a little bit, let your hands crossed in front of your knees. Sit back and then expanding through the upper body. This is called parting the clouds. Weather-wise, we've had a series, a long time of low grey skies. Last day or so, a bit of sunshine. There's that feeling that we get when the sun comes out from behind the clouds, that sort of opening up, that expansion that I always associate with this particular exercise. Now, these last couple of movements, last three movements have been quite symmetrical. Most ones that we've done have been. And based on this yielding to the pull of gravity, the downward movement, and then that resulting upward movement, however you view that happening. And it's symmetrical through the body. Both arms are used Usually a bit of a difference, but by and large, it's yeah. This time, the hands come down and build the compression downwards. And as you feel the expansion, focusing on one side of your body, pushing your arm up, this is dragon plucks the stars, and then. Bring your attention to the center of your body, feel that compression down, then to the right side. And so you're beginning to direct the movement, the energy. You're using your awareness and you're using your intentions to discriminate, to say, well, I'm going to be on the left now. I'm going to bring my attention to the center, the other side. So that focused attention and the increasingly skilled intentional qualities that we bring becomes very, very subtle. In the sense that we're able to sort of direct the energy into those areas of the body where we choose for it to go in the case of the exercises. Or again, maybe going back to that tight spot in your back, sense in which you're directing the energy to flow through that area, to unknot the tightness, perhaps. Sometimes tight, painful areas in Chinese medicine are referred to as knotted energy, for instance. It's not always that straightforward. And the understanding of how this works grows with time. But the potential is there. And you can see how an exercise like this really helps to create that potential. This time, bringing your hands around in front, pushing your arms up, feeling the lengthening in your back. And all the way back down, bringing your hands down in front of the center of your body. And then with the next expansion, pushing out, broadening across your back. Just picking up on what I said previously about our intention beginning to guide the movements. Those very subtle changes of expansion and contraction in our back. Once we get used to them, can we call on our memory? Feed that memory into our intention so that this movement isn't just about the arms, it's about the back lengthening and how when that happens or when the back broadens, our arms move in response. Push out this time, turn in your hips. Once again, the center part of your body, guiding the movement, reshaping the movement. And then in the other direction. So our thoughts, our intentions pass through the center of the body. And then just facing forwards and pushing in four directions. Once again, recognizing how movement, dynamics, find the movement, encourage the drawing of our attention, our thoughts, our intentions into this area of the body, its connection to the ground. Offering shape, direction. But also offering a quality of stillness. It's from that point of stillness that we're able to direct the movement. And of course, we benefit from that quality of stillness. One more round of this. So this is a good exercise because your hands actively come back to the center of the body, and that draws your attention to there. And then they push out, but then they'll come back. So among other things that we're learning to do and that we're practicing is the ability to deliberately send our thoughts into the center of the body, into that sense of stillness, sense of calmness, quietness. And they're able to move out again. Extend one foot out, plant the heel down on the floor, don't lock your knee. These scores, scooping the sea and looking at the sky. So the intention is to push down on one side, feel your hips sinking back. Push down gently through the supporting legs. So again, an expansion upwards. So very carefully with your back. And then once again, roll your fingers into a hollow fist, sit back, and this time the movement is more upward, drawing your hands over, so it's grasping the triangles. One more time. Changing sides. Scooping the sea. And grasping the triangles. Or more. So now, bring the feet back parallel. Turn a little bit to your right, so mirror my movements. Ease forwards, have your right hand beside you. Push the hand forwards and around and come back to the center, like a one-handed polishing the table. The same thing in the other direction. Just let your arm extend out a little bit for extension through your spine. Change sides again. And what we're going to do, we're going to turn this into a different exercise by making the movement smaller, by making the turning in the center, the transfer of your weight, a smaller movement that begins to overlap. So you go out a little way, your arm still extends, and then as you start to come back almost straight away, you're going forwards. And this time it's the left hand. So if I exaggerate, and again, this will be exaggerated. I'm sort of doing this. You can see how my center works in that way. But it's very, very subtle. The transfer of the weight is maybe only 20–30%. And a small rotation in the center of your body, but feeling that connection from hips to shoulders, shoulders down to your arms, to your elbows, and your wrists. This is the exercise of polishing. Again, encouraging the return of your attention to the center of your body, round. And just allowing thereby an extension out. So the yang is the movement outwards, the yin is the. And it's a slightly more challenging exercise. It can feel as though your arms are quite separate. Connection is through your center. So if you find yourself doing this and going, oh, what do I do now? I don't know which hand to use. Just don't think about the hands to start off with and bring them back in, but just think, oh, I don't know what my hand, what's my centre do? Oh yeah, if I do nothing with my hands and I just move in my centre, you can see I've got the seed of the movement. So we move in a very centered way, maintaining the root, maintaining that quality of stillness. And beginning to value, have confidence in that quality of stillness to actually support you in the movement. And then just let your hands fall. Once again, rubbing your hands together and tapping over your face. And over your head and neck. Down on the shoulder, arm, the other side. The upper part of your chest. Then it's your belly. And legs. Let's do energize the muscles of your legs before you stand up, pushing your heels up. And then circling your knees around. And back down. So then standing. And all of these qualities, and those ones that I described as being labeled as central equilibrium, we want to try and find now in the standing. And it's generally a bit trickier because now all of your weight is going to bear down through your feet, of course, but still you've got support for the front of your body from the back. You've got support from within your body, this stronger feeling within the body. Standing with your feet hip width apart, directly below your hips, not too close together or too wide apart. Weight slightly forwards, and then once again, just allowing your hips to drop down. And once again, feeling quite strongly now that push up from the legs. The body expanding and then contracting downwards. You push up from the ground. You don't try and pull yourself up from the shoulders. You leave the center of gravity, your root, deep in the ground, and then bringing your hands around as though you're cradling the ball. So the standing version of rooting down, pushing up, turn your hands, pressing down. And at the bottom of the movement, turn your hands out and go into the wild goose. And then now let your hands drop across the front of your belly, pushing up. And then around, just feeling the subtle changes from one movement to another. So you start to recognize these small changes that we can bring our intention to bear on. Noticing how that too draws our attention deeper into our body. And then, yeah. So our bodies offer our minds a place to settle, a place of calmness and stillness. And with that deeper awareness comes the potential for really influencing the flow of movement, structure of the body through these small changes that we begin to become aware of. Now, changing the stance, turn your left foot out, step forward with your right foot. You can still see the background between my legs, so still with hip width. And then once again, as we did in the chair, starting saying with your weight at your back foot, you let your weight drop a little bit, you feel the push, you direct it. Same thing, stepping into your front foot, and then push you back. So that horizontal, that vertical dynamic, the pull of gravity, the rise in energy that comes from that, once again, converted into a horizontal move. Trying to maintain the posture while you move. So very much moving from the ground. See if you want to get a drink. Moving from the ground, not straining in the back, the shoulders, letting your body rest as you do. So really using your legs. And then next time you sit back into your back leg, just raising the front toes so more of your weight goes in to the back leg, and then your heel coming up as you go into the front leg. So we're trying to get to a point where your whole body is nicely aligned over one leg. You don't want to lean forwards and backwards. So you're rooting down through one leg, you're aligned over that leg. And with that, you can start to really get more stable. And when we've got that stability, we can begin to bring the foot in, planting the foot, just as we did in the chair. When you step backwards, it's going to be the ball of your foot goes down first. Apart from that, it's the same process. Try those same movements with your left foot forwards. First of all, just what we would call the fixed step, transfer of the weight, aware of your posture, that alignment with the pull of gravity and with the ground beneath you. Feeling that push coming up from the ground, directing it into the empty leg. Beginning to raise toes and heels, so more of the weight goes down. You get closer to that sense of being in line. And if you do this, and you find yourself getting a bit kind of wobbly, obviously don't take chances, but think of that feeling of just allowing gravity to pull your center of gravity down, rather than stiffening up and becoming top heavy. You just find a way to settle. And then stepping in. So the rooting down is a key aspect of this development of stability. But also, again, the mind is just reminding us, actually, I don't have to step up. I can release into it. And then taking a few steps through, either forwards or backwards. So what we're looking to try and do, and it's more difficult, is to maintain those qualities of central equilibrium that we discovered in the chair in the standing movements. And then going back. So that is quite a challenge, I think. But it means that we have the potential to take at least some of these qualities that we appreciate in Tai Chi out into our daily lives. So they're not just restricted when we're actually practicing Tai Chi. Bringing your feet parallel, back to having the right foot forwards, but imagining parallel lines through your legs. Do the standing version of fisherman castanet. So start with your weight in the back foot, going forwards, letting your arms trail behind, and then swinging forwards as you arrive in front. Same idea again. Nice, smooth, wave-like flow of movement through your body. And the weight moving forwards and backwards. Your face in your center is facing forwards, and your arms are swinging forwards. You want more of these going forwards. As you arrive in the front leg, turn your hands so they're palm down, coming back and turn to the left, drawing your right hand around the circle and go forwards, turn back to the front, drawing the left hand. So we have the standing version, polishing the toe. Moving from the ground through your center. Letting your arms follow the movement. So when you get a bit kind of, oh, I don't know what to do with my hands, don't think about it. Bring your attention back to the ground, to that rounded center quality. Learning to maintain that sense of being centered at the heart of the movement. Valuable quality to take out in a session. And shaking. And then have your left foot forward. So same thing here. Facing forwards, fisherman castanet, but still a sense that your center is rolling from foot to foot. Carries you forwards and backwards. Remember that spacious feeling in your upper body, allowing for the flow and the movement of the energy, just aware of patterns of expansion and contraction that we may be able to bring a quality of intentionality to at some point to enhance the movement. Now this time, hands palm down, turning. Again, there are patterns of movement in the upper part of the body. Here, as I go back, I'm expanding that front side of my body. And that begins to contract, drawing my arms in, but there's expansion here, pushing my arm. So the arms are the expression of these other processes working within the body. Stirring the bones. And this time going forwards, and when you arrive in your front foot, turn to your right and let your arms swing out, a bit like the wild goose. Raise your back heel, bring your foot in, or you can do this the other way around if you want to go backwards. Part the foot forwards. And forwards, dropping your hands down, turning to your left, bring the foot in. This is dragonfly skins the movement. And you may find that you're comfortable just raising the leg. You do that, really focus on the hips sinking back. Because that's the counterbalance to knee coming up. Just be careful that you're not straining in your hip, the top of your leg to raise the knees. Ideally, it's just a straightforward rotation, two planes with your hip. I'm going to change direction. Take your time, bring the foot in before you even consider whether it's time to raise it or not. And you might find sometimes, as I do sometimes, you go, oh, no, I'm not going to lift it this time. I didn't quite have my posture ready. So listen to your body, listen to where the space is in your body, move according to that. Changing direction again. Few more. You can go in either direction. You could go sideways. You can turn. But I'm just doing this forwards and backwards, otherwise I'm going out of camera. You can change direction again. The dragonfly skins the wall. Bring you through that. Okay. Now go back to I mentioned that quality of central equilibrium, Chinese term is Zhongding at the start of the class. I've also talked about this idea of coming back to those qualities when we lose them. And I think this is something that Tai Chi has really taught me. And this last exercise really encapsulates that. It's called Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain. The mountain is this image, perhaps, of those qualities of central equilibrium. So just let your hands drop down, pushing your arms out, a bit like the wild goose again, but this time bringing them around so they're holding the ball against your chest. Drawing in, and then that strong sense of dropping down, returning to the mountain. One more round. And fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. But bye now.